Hello everyone, March 6, 2023. Welcome to Daily Stock Market Analysis, starting with QQQ, which is Nasdaq ETF. You can see what happened today. This is daily chart. We had a gap up. If I go to 1 hour chart, you can see we gapped up. Okay, we filled this gap, which was here from February 17th. So let's go ahead and delete this gap. I told you guys, if you watch my previous videos, I told you guys all these yellow gaps will be filled. And we filled one of the gaps. Actually, in fact, we filled the other gap as well, which was 16th of Feb. So we filled both gaps. All right. So what happened today? You can see this daily trend line. We hit exactly. We almost capped up and opened close to that trend line here, and then we sold down as the day progressed, and eventually we almost closed flat on Nasdaq. All right. So you can see. So there are most likely there are few ways to play out now. Okay, first of all, we already hit this resistance. Now there is possibility of a rejection. We will talk about SPY soon. There's a possibility of rejection and then go up. There are these two massive gaps. Okay, around 328 there's a gap here on daily, and then there's also another big gap around 322. So there's possibility we can go straight up to fill that gap. Okay, so let me quickly get the right tool here. So it is possible we can tomorrow. Powell is talking. He's talking. There's some, I think, banks conference he's attending, and then he's talking. So there is possible that we can break out tomorrow, back test, and go fill these gaps. Okay, that's also one possibility. And other possibilities, we get rejection here, which we already got rejected today, and then we go bottom. And then we there's a lot of support here. We test these supports. There's also this downward sloping trend line on daily. Okay, you can see this trend line. I made two trend lines because on Nasdaq it's not that clear. So there are two trend lines. It's possible we backtest and then we fill the gaps. But look at the longer term picture. Okay, guys, we are not falling below this. Okay, I'm 99% sure we're not falling below this. First 6 months, I think the targets will be these two gaps. So long term, in at least couple of months, if you are holding investment, just hold it. Don't be worried about this day-to-day volatility. Think about bigger picture. Okay, think that in few months from now we'll be here. Okay, we won't be here. So forget about take a dump here and then going higher, or forget about going higher directly there. Think about the long-term picture. Okay, if you try to day trade every day, then you're gonna get really busted. Okay, so depending on how you want to trade, I think look into the long-term picture. Look for swing trades. Okay, swing trades, I mean. Okay, so now other thing is thinkorswim chart. This is Nasdaq MNQ. One thing to note is we went dump here. So basically we sell at top purple line and we buy at bottom purple line. So we came very close to this bottom purple line, which is around 11,800, and then we have a bounce. Okay, now we are in neutral zone. Below is neutral zone. I do expect usually we do, once we get close to below purple line, we usually try to go above this top purple line before we sell off. Okay, so it's like you can see here, if I show you my previous data here, you can see here we were at the top upper line, we dumped bottom upper line, we went up top upper line, stayed top upper line, then we dumped and actually went below upper line, and then again now we're going here top upper line, and now we went close to below upper line. Now we're going out. Now it is possible, okay, it is possible we can dump here, find buyers around here around 11,700, then go higher, or we can still go higher and then come back later. Okay, bottom. All right, so keep that in mind. So I think there is still some upside. In my opinion, I think we will go higher first before we go down. Today was just basically a flat day on QQQ. Basically just I guess it's just testing. It's confusing bears and bulls at the same time. I think market wants to go higher. Okay, that's my take on. And also, if I go to 1 hour chart on US 100, let's go to 1 hour chart. I will show you what's happening. You can see there's divergence on RSI. You can see prices going higher. Actually, even on futures, you can see we hit the top trend line here, and then we sold off. If we go to 1 hour chart, you can see price was going higher, RSI was going lower, PPO was going lower. So now we are getting a dump. Okay, now where do we go from here? You see there's a lot of support here around 12,150. If I draw a trend line here, I mean a support line here, there's a lot of support here in this area. can see support here, this slightly above it. Also, it's also possible we can go like this slightly. Okay, so around 12 to 30. So it is possible tonight we could kind of come down here, okay, find buyers and then break out, okay. So keep that in mind. So there are both scenarios. Don't just think that it's going to dump, okay. So be mindful of this as well. So basically right now it's not clear. It's an equal battle between bulls and bears, and we will not know. Hopefully tomorrow when Fed talks, Powell talks, then we know eventually if he says anything in regards to disinflation, then we should get a rally. All right. um, okay, now going to SPY. Let's go into SPY. Nasdaq sorry, S&P 500. You can see what happened today. I still expect, so this 408 gap was not filled. So if I go to 1 hour chart, Nasdaq filled both gaps, but on SPY we still did not fill this 408 gap. So it is quite possible we go and fill that gap first. Okay, so it is possible we can go and tomorrow we fill this gap. Okay, and then there is this trend line around 409. It could hit that and then sell off. Let's quickly look at SPX, which is, I also look at MES chart. So you can see this red zone, which is sell zone, and this green zone is buy zone. Now the thing is, let's quickly go to this Thinkorswim great chart here I have. I'm spending some more time on SPY and Nasdaq to see what's going on, to try to analyze where market can go. You can see we usually sell between top purple and dash line. This is the area to sell. So we are still kind of, this rally was 3.8%, this rotation, and now we are getting a dump. But I think it is quite possible we go above 41.40. So I am looking for a pump, a slight pump to touch this area, 41.40 to 4300. But I think this time we'll touch this area. Maybe we'll have some more strength this week. Tomorrow, if Powell talks, we could get this rally, and that would be a perfect time to sell. So also, it's quite possible today was the top, and now we are going lower. But I do still expect a little bit more pump. Okay. But again, look at the longer pictures, guys. If this is more for like a day trade or quick swing trade perspective, if you want to really time the market, but you know how often can you time the market? So look at the longer term picture. We can either go directly there to 4300, we can come back, buy, and then go there. Okay, so if you can hold for a couple of weeks to a few months, you will be higher than where we are right now. All right, so keep that in mind. And wix wix was up, slightly up. Let's go to 1 hour chart and see what happened today. Let's go to auto. You can see we gapped up and then we sold down. We had a rally in all ETFs, all in the indices, and then we kind of tried to sold off towards the end of the day. Still, VIX is below this 50 SMA line, daily SMA line. As long as it's below that, there's nothing to worry. I think a rally is coming. Okay. If it closes above this 50 SMA line, then we need to start getting concerned. Okay. Now let's quickly keep on going to other indices. US 30. Again, the only thing which bothers me is we did not touch this 200 SMA line, but looks like it's getting bullish. There is this downward sloping trend line. If I draw it like that, it's not like a clean trend line. So yeah, we can, there's only like, yeah, I think this could be the one like this. Okay, there are 3 instances of touches, 1, 2, and 3. We can draw it like that. I think if we recover, there's also this 50 SMA line. If tomorrow we recover above 33,570, I think that should be bullish. So we should be going higher. If we recover above this daily trend line, daily 50 SMA line, then I think it's good to go. And we will be going towards this previous all-time highs, all right, which is around 34,876. US 2000. A bit of concerning look. I tell you the reason why this is Russell 2000. You can see we had a fake out move on Friday. It broke out of this trend line and today we got dumped. Okay, so this was like looks like a bull trap. But let's see tomorrow, if we get again close above this trend line, then that's bullish, and then our target will be 2010. All right, on Russell 2000. Oil, crude oil, I have this trend line. I think it's like very close to my target now, $82. So we keep pumping. So I think we're going to pump here. very soon to 82.58. Then we will have some resistance here, and then we sell off a bit, and then eventually my target will be $92 on oil. March could be bearish, so we could get slightly dump on March, and then we rip higher. So that will be a good time to, if you are in oil trade energy, it will be good to take profits around $82. Let's quickly look at XLE, which is oil sector, energy sector, energy ETF. Let's see okay, so it looks like we slightly closed above this trend line. We are still below 50 SMA line. So you can see this trend line. You can see from really long time here, even starting COVID times, you can see this trend line is holding, and today we closed above it slightly. So this could be very bullish, and we are filling this gap. So the other thing is, did we fill this gap very closely? Let me see. It looks like, yeah, looks like we almost filled this gap. Okay. Now the only thing which bothers me is there are two gaps here. Okay, so we'll see. Maybe we'll go higher and then we come down. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. Natural gas had a bad day today, almost 12-13% down. Looks like we're coming for a back test. Okay. So March is usually bearish for stock market and commodities. So it is possible that you can see this is daily trend line. We pumped higher. Now we're coming for a back test. Now if you miss this move, initial move, then you're going to get a good opportunity very soon. Okay, so do not miss this move. You can buy UNG on the back test of this trend line. All right, let's quickly look at gold. Gold, same thing, found resistance around this 50 SMA line, same as natural gas here. If I go back to natural gas, you can see it found resistance around daily 50 SMA line. Now it's selling off. Same thing with gold, 50 SMA lines resistance. So it is possible. So gold is by the dip, by the way. So I am really bullish on gold. So it is possible we are now coming to make a higher low. Okay. Now there's not a very clean trend line here to kind of figure out where this low would be. It could come back down here. There's a lot of support around 1800 area, so it is possible we could come for back test, because I don't have a clean trend line on gold. Even if I draw a trend line like this, it's not really that clean. If I do it like that, then it's going to go below this, so around 1750, but I don't like that scenario. I think it's going to find a lot of support around 1800, even if we come down. But yeah, gold and silver also had a weak day today. But again, I think silver is way behind gold. Still needs some upside. So let's just focus on gold for now. So if we get this dump, if we get more weakness, look to buy. But it is quite possible that tomorrow onwards we could also pump. One thing to note on gold miners ETF GDX. Let's go to 1 hour chart. So there is this gap fill around, slight gap fill around 27.68. So tomorrow if we open on that, you should buy it. Okay, so look to buy that gap fill. Also on daily, also it's not a very clean trend line on daily, even on GDX. So I don't think we're going to come back down so far for a back test. There's a lot of support around this gap fill, 27.68. You should look to buy, and look, all these yellow lines are all the gaps we need to fill. Okay, so there's a lot of upside on gold miners. All right, so keep that in mind. Bitcoin, let's go to BTC chart, futures chart. So looks like just flagging. If I go to like basically Bitcoin futures, looks like it's a flag. We had a flag here. Okay, we had a flag here too. It broke down. Now it looks like we're making another flag. Let's quickly see on 1 hour chart. Do we see any signs of reversal? It's just going, making a straight line here, basically consolidating. I don't see any signs here of next move. But on BTC futures, there's a big gap here around 20. So I do expect some pump if Powell talks tomorrow, and if he says disinflation, we can get this pump, and then eventually next week in March we could get this dump and then fill this gap. Okay, so Bitcoin, it could do a fake out move. It could do a fake out move if I take a 1 hour chart. All right, there's no trend line I can draw. No, not a clean trend line. It looks like we are closing above this 1 hourly 50 SMA line. But yeah, it is possible we can do like a pump move here like this. Okay, Bitcoin can go up, and then dump. Okay, so be mindful of that. That's what I'm showing here. Okay, so I do expect Bitcoin to go higher, find some resistance here, and then dump. Uh, but look at the long-term chart. Okay, look at the long-term scenarios. Okay, do you want to wait for this dump? Can you really catch this bottom, or can you buy now? Because we know eventually, in few months from now, we will be here around 29,000. Okay, so it's your call. Do you want to time it perfectly? Because who knows what's in market maker's mind? I do expect this gap to fill before pump, but you never know. We could go straight up there. So long run, you should. These are the levels to accumulate Bitcoin. Okay, these are not the levels to wait for a dump. So you can start buying slowly here. If you get more dump, you can have some dry powder. You can buy more here. Okay. Dollar looks like dollar wants to go down. I think it's going to sell down a little bit more and then pump and then dump. So this pump will be mid-March to late early April when stocks will be down. So this week I'm still expecting some bullish moves. So I do expect some more pump and then dollar to sell down more. And then next week onwards, I expect dollar to go higher. All right. Treasury yields, TNX was up surprisingly today. Still, I think there's some divergence here. I showed on 1 hour chart, and it made a gap here. I don't think that gap gonna be filled soon. There's a massive gap here around 3.5. I think that's gonna be filled first before we move higher. And there is divergence. You can see I showed it slight divergence, but PPI showing clear divergence there. Okay, what else is there? Bonds. Bonds, you can see basically trying to go higher. We had a gap up today and then we sold down. Let's go to 1 hour chart and see. Oh, this is future, so you won't see any slight like a gap ups here. But it looks like we will have some pump here. Okay, maybe later this week, and then we have a dump. Maybe we'll make a new lower low, and then we're gonna pump later. All right. So that's what bonds are telling me. What else is there? Healthcare sector. You can see healthcare is very close to the support. So I do expect, even if we pump, I do expect some dip later on this month. And then we're going to have a good opportunity to buy around 124.88. One other stock is UNH. Dividends is coming. This is one of the largest XLVs, healthcare sector stock, 1.65, $1.65 this Friday. So you should buy by Thursday to enjoy that dividend. So keep that in mind. XLU, where did XLU go? Still going higher. It touched our buy zone and keeps slipping higher. And let's quickly look at individual stocks, starting with Tesla. You can see, let's go to 1 hour chart and see if we filled. So Tesla, sorry, there are so many lines here. Tesla is like a gap city, guys. Okay, so there's a gap here now around 202. There's a gap here around, let me draw a horizontal line. Gap here around 191. So we are like between two gaps. Which gap will fill first? Since it's so close to this bottom gap, I think tomorrow we're gonna fill this gap. Maybe we'll open here, fill this gap, and then market will decide next move. Maybe it will go to 202 before we go get this March sell-off, and then we move higher. Okay, but longer term, even on Tesla, my targets are this 265 gap fill. Also, I draw this Fibonacci. You can see these white lines. Let me try to zoom in a bit. There are so many lines here, guys. Sorry about that. I think this trend line we can get rid of. Let's get rid of these lines here. It's a bit more clear for you guys. Tesla, this is 20 as EMA. Tesla closed below that. That's not a good sign. There's a gap here, we just said. That might be filled soon. And also there is this 0.236 Fibonacci retracement, so around 182. So between 182 and 178, there's a lot of support. So even if we get a sell-off in March, I think it's going to find support in that area before we bounce higher, right? So it is possible to go here and then we go fill that area, all right? Also, it's making an inverse head and shoulder. I showed you, I think, let me get rid of this Fibonacci. I showed you guys yesterday. This is in left shoulder, head, right shoulder. We're developing right shoulder, and then if I take a distance, then the target is around mid 350s. All right. Let's go to Apple. Apple had a massive day today, big gap up. You can see Apple, what happened. It opened right on resistance here. You can see this white resistance and we sold down. Okay, looks like we are filling some gaps and we are making some more gaps. So we filled this gap around 150, 151. And then we made another massive gap at the bottom here. So there's a gap here around 151. Yeah, basically we made another two gaps. We filled gap and then we made another two gaps. Okay, so eventually in March this gap should be filled, but this looks like it opened right on resistance, and you can see we made a newer high. No, not a new high. Yeah, you can see there was some divergence on RSI. We made a new high compared to this high with a divergence on RSI, and same thing on PPO. Okay, and now we're getting a sell-off. So it is possible from here we could fill this gap first before we go higher. So it is possible that this is what happened. All right, it is quite possible. Okay, so be mindful of that. It's all going to depend on SPY, how SPY is doing. Amazon had a very bullish day in the morning. We filled this gap and now we sold off. So Amazon is not looking good. It looks like inverse head and shoulder, to be honest. This is like head, left shoulder, and now we're making a right shoulder. And we could go and see these previous lows. Okay, so I'm not that bullish on Amazon. Google, same scenario. Looks like inverse head and shoulder. Okay, sorry, not inverse. Head and shoulder, left shoulder, head and right shoulder. It did fill this gap today, so we can get rid of this. There's this trend line here on Google, so we could like go down, touch this trend line. It's very important to hold this trend line because if we go lower, then it's gonna be new lows on Google. Okay. Meta did not do much. I don't see any gaps. Just broke out, and then it looks okay. Meta looks okay. Netflix, multiple gaps here, so eventually these gaps will be filled. Microsoft is gap city. Let's see. Oh yeah, I did fill two gaps. Okay, fill two gaps. There are still three more gaps to fill. So Microsoft is looking really nice. Snow had a good day today in the morning. Still this gap here from earnings. Let's see, we might get a pump first and then dump. Nvidia was up in the morning and it still has divergence on PPO and RSI. You can see price is moving higher, RSI is moving lower. So eventually we're gonna get a dump, massive dump on Nvidia. I don't know when. Still not any signs to short. If you want to short, you can do a trend line. Draw a trend line like this on Nvidia. Okay, and wait for break of this trend line. Okay, do not short until you see this break. All right. AMD daily chart. There are still gaps up. There's gap down. So which gap will fill first? I think up gap will fill, and then we get some sell-off in March, and then we move higher. All right. That's about it, guys. Again, to recap, let's go to MES chart. I do think we'll get some more upside this week. Okay, next couple of days we should get some upside before we sell down. So that's what I'm counting on. But looking at triple Qs, it looks like we closed right on resistance, so we might be ready for this dump. So market is giving me mixed signals, but tomorrow is a key day. Again, look at the long-term picture, guys. Look at in a couple of months to a couple of weeks, we'll be at the higher side.